Frantz Fanon, and it's what's it? Black Skin, White Mask, right? Interesting perspective of representation of his time, and I'm going to emphasize that again because as many of us have done, and I've pointed it out previously, is that we used the materials of iconic materials such like black mass, white skin, and we used that as a benchmark, not realizing that it's only a stepping stone, right? So as we see as wow, now that is something new. That is the way how it should be. No, it's on the way to be. Most of our material are stepping stones in life. Yes, they are foundations, but they're only stepping stones to go higher, further, and far further. I said that twice, didn't I? Anyhow. Anyhow, at this point, I'd like to bring in our Sister Sandra. Thank you for joining us this strong. Sister Sandra.
Thank you, Brother
Greetings.
Preston, for the invitation. And I do actually love coming back to the Blacknifcent Thursday afternoon conversation with the brothers and the sisters out there. I was intrigued.
Look at that, I've got a caller already. We got a caller already.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on. I got a feeling that something not go on. Anyhow.
Is it a continuation from last week? That's what I want to know.
Continuation, Rockstone. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, Brother Naya, before we even get into the conversation with Sister Sandra, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good times. I'm sorry to I've been enthusiastic because I didn't even realize the Empress was on the line, So
Yeah.
I apologize,
She just joined us. Also, we are live on the Facebook, and we also live on YouTube as well. Blacknifcent Radio Show.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on a big screen,
Well, go on now.
I see.
Better still, face it outside so that everybody can see me, sir.
No. It's a TV.
Just push it towards the window. I can catch some of the sunshine.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Can I just comment on the black skin, white blackface?
Black skin, white mask. Yeah.
Because for me, it's very difficult to analyze, yeah. But what happened to me was like, other elders was analyzing this book, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what I got to understand is the difference between the francophone and the anglophone.
Mm-hmm.
Like the difference between the way they colonized the French people.
Yes.
And because what happened right now, the French people, what they did was like, you could be
French,
anything you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
You could be French.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could even go to accent, but you have to do everything. You have to speak French.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get rid of your name. You have to.
That's right.
Did you get the same thing?
Yeah. Well, listen. This one of the things that we have to understand, right? One jacket don't fit everybody, right? Everybody has their journey. This is why I've introduced, like in the Blacknifcent show, various other cultures, like the Latin American, right? Brazil. That's why I play those things, so that we can get the understanding of what they are going through as well. The Asians, right? People go and settle down in China, and Malaysia and all them type of place there. They're under another set of rules, right?
Yeah, but what I understand from my brothers, like what the French have done is completely. It's like, because like my man is from Martinique, it's a French colony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? They got other French colonies, and they're saying that you could be gentrified and be like us, drop your
culture,
identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, everything is French. So they come from another different approach from the British.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, because the British now come from the thing, look, let's just brutalize you, right? If you don't do anything, I say I'm gonna chop off your head down.
And all them things there, yeah. But they had their purpose, right, for doing it. The French saw a different angle for it because they said, well, why if we start doing that, they're gonna come back and murder us, right? Because not only did the British and the Portuguese get some uprising, they got their ass beat as well. You understand, right? So therefore, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Yeah.
But look at but you know what? Have you interacted with French black people before?
Yes, I have.
Right. I don't know, man. It's like they just separated us from, you know, our common, like as you say, the common denominator.
And that is their purpose. That is the whole point of their purpose of colonization. Right. Listen. I'm gonna ask that you pause there, right? And let me get on with the show with Sister Sandra because she's got some very important articles and things she wants to share with us. Okay.
I'll listen up.
Mainly because hold on.
Interrupting.
Let me line you up now. We are talking about Oman. Okay? We're talking about Oman. So she's leading the way.
When I say Oman, I say women.
Yeah, all right. Uno talk how you want talk, right? Okay? Go on with yourself. We're in the island colloquials now, okay?
Respect, man. I'm all ears, man, my brother. Your show is like, boy, your show is like fire.
Thank you very much, yeah. All right, then, bless up. Right. Greetings, my sister, once again.
Greetings.
And how are you? How are you this afternoon?
I'm feeling amazing. I'm just looking out, and I know earlier on you'd hinted about the climate changes. Let's have a conversation. No. Yeah. No. That was our man with fat fingers. Oh, okay.
Go on.
Yeah, so we were just in terms of just being here in Jamaica and enjoying the sunshine and looking at. I want to overdose on the vitamin D.
We can't overdose upon that, right?
I'm
supposed to be black.
I want to overdose. I don't want to wear the sunglasses to shade my eyes. That's right. I want to enjoy the sunshine as much as I can. But one of hearing the conversations in terms of friends, whether they be yourselves in the UK and snow, that S word, in Canada, that S word.
Yeah.
Boston, USA, that S word, and we're now coming up to almost like a third of the way through the month of March.
Quarter of the way through the year.
Yeah. The climate's just doing different things in different places. And I know earlier on, Brother Nair had spoken about in Gambia and the lack of rainfall. And in Jamaica now, that's one of the challenges. So there's a couple of things that are happening. And they're talking about it in terms of downtown Kingston, in terms of the Kingston, the center, how they're having to literally lock off the water. Wow. And they're locking it off. And there's different parts of Kingston, Spanish Town, and that area that they're locking off the water. So they're warning individuals, warning the general public that you need to make use of the water whilst it's there because it's going to be locked off. And more often than not, it's locked off at night. So at least you know exactly what's happening. But the reservoirs are at 60, 70%. That's in Kingston and the surrounding areas. But I'm in Portland. And I'm thinking Portland, we don't have any problems with water because you know what? When they say that land, wood and water, that's Portland. That's a description for Portland.
Yeah.
But I'm walking in, going up to the valley, going up to visit friends and family and going up to Moortown. And I'm walking over the bridge and I'm thinking, but that water's not flowing. That water, it's not moving like it used to, which tells me then that the water's not coming from the hills in the same way as it did in the past. Which tells me also that, hang on a minute, how can I see that big rock? How can I see so many stones? Effectively, we're not even getting water over here. We're not getting the rainfall. And normally, like I say, Portland's one of those parishes that it rains every night. It may only rain for 5 minutes, but you know, when it rains in Jamaica, 5 minutes, you'll get drenched.
It's one of them dewy area.
It's a wet space. We do get water. It's a green. You look around and you see the green trees. You look around at the grass and the grass is green. I'm looking around at the grass in the marina and the grass is turning brown because we're not getting any water. I went for my slow silent walk the other day, and I'm walking, I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with this picture? And I see the grass coming up as I'm walking on the roadside. Now, there's not supposed to be grass coming up there. That tells me that there's no water, there's no rainfall. I'm supposed to be walking in mud. I'm supposed to be walking on firm soil. But I'm walking and I'm seeing grass and I'm thinking, no, there's something wrong with this picture. And having a conversation with someone yesterday, they were saying that the weather forecast, we're not expecting any rain, any substantial rain in the next 2 weeks in the island of Jamaica. So we're going to get a little spattering, but that's not going to be enough to wet the soil. That's not going to be enough to raise any water tables. So when we're talking about global warming, we're talking about climate change, and we're talking about things like that, it's affecting each and every one of us. And when the children are looking to go to school with their clean clothes and the mothers are washing the clothes and doing what they need to do in order to send the children to school, there's going to be a challenge with the water situation. And the sad thing is, water over here is exactly the same as water in the UK. You see the bus pipe and you think to yourself, why don't they just fix it so we can conserve the little that we have, rather than we keep having challenges. So that's what my first thought in terms of news and items that have struck me over the last 7 days. And the other news and items.
That's something that is licking your heart.
Yeah, it's. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I did plant some plants out there, and I need to take the responsibility to go and water them, because if I'm leaving it up to the heavens, which I can normally do, it's not going to flourish. But the beauty about the plants, they will flourish as long as there is sun and there's enough nutrients. So they're going to go and find the nutrients. They're going to go and find the water. And I went and I caught some water again when I was going up to Moortown, and that's pure spring water. Regardless, it could be 100 degrees out there. You taste this water, it's perfect. It's not ice cold, but it's cool enough that you could literally just say, you know what, I'll just stand here for a little while. So cool.
Was it crowded around that area at the time?
It wasn't, but when I was passing, there was someone catching water. The taxi drivers, when they're passing, they will often have a 2-liter bottle, plastic bottle, and they'd fill it on either the way up or the way down. And I was speaking to someone, because when I finished, someone else came. So there's constantly people coming along and filling up from that spring.
You realize now, watch out now, because this is what happened to me as well when I was in my traveling. That when you travel and then you return back to this place, yes, or UK, you realize how poisoned you are.
Yes.
Because you just think, how can anybody drink this thing?
Yep.
Right? You just think to yourself, whoa. Huh?
Yeah. It becomes a challenge, because you're thinking, I need to put something in this thing called water in order to make it taste okay. Or I need to filter it. And I don't want to filter it once. I need to filter it 2 or 3 times just to give it a sense of pure.
You can feel that the dead water, and the chemicals what they're giving us through our tap.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's the thing. Like I said, it could be 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but that water is perfect for the human consumption. It's not hot, and it's not cold. So by the time it comes into you, you drink it, it's adding to what you've already got in your system. It's not going to shock the system, which sometimes we say, oh, I want a ice cold water, I want an ice cold this.
It's not
Effectively,
necessary.
what you're doing is shocking the system because your system's not ready for that ice cold, because inside of you, you're warm.
Yeah.
You're at optimal
I
temperature.
think what that is one of the lessons that I learned. I was in Turkey for extensive time there, a year and a half. And while I was there, I also picked up the habit of drinking iced tea, not iced tea, hot tea, right, black tea, right. And what they were saying is that, and it was very hot over there as well. The temperature was hot, but everybody I drink tea all the time. And I said, well, what is this? And then what it was explained to me. It says, well, your body temperature, all you're doing is that you're quenching your thirst, but with a liquid that is your body temperature, So like that is why sometimes we should drink like a warm water and things like this in preference to the ice water. And as you rightly said, why would you want to shock your body into cooling down? Meanwhile, what is needing is just to balance out.
Yeah.
And that's why some people sweat in the heat and some people don't. Because if their body is balanced in that way and it's not stressing, then it doesn't have to cool down in that way. But obviously, natural things is natural things still.
Definitely. So that was one of the things that brought to my mind over the last week. And the other thing that was brought to my mind over the last week was Jamaica are importing cannabis. And when
I read about that. I did laugh. It did laugh to me. I did laugh.
I said, "What's wrong with this picture?" And it was literally a big conversation over the Sunday on the Sunday talk show. Was it Sunday? No, Saturday talk show. And the presenter she couldn't get her head around it either. She said, but we're importing cannabis from Canada. And Jamaica can't export cannabis to Canada. And they've worked out how it's done. But it still doesn't sit right, because you think to yourself, why are they doing it? And they've justified it, and I will use the word justified in quotes. A, that it's a small quantity. B, it's not a strain that Jamaica has here. And C, it's used for medicinal purposes.
We could go give some jackass bitters then. That's true. If you want exchange, we exchange that too. Clean out your backside. Right.
But it was just interesting, the fact that Jamaica they don't appear to be exporting cannabis, and where they can, the rules are so high that there's a confusion as to whether or not it's actually done. And they were looking to some of the companies were looking to export to Canada. The strain, obviously, that Canada doesn't have. But Canada said, no, thank you. We will just, and it just so happens the minister wanted to clarify this, and he said it's a Jamaican company, but they can't tell us which one. And then they mentioned in terms of the quantity, in terms of it was a small amount, whereas initially we was thinking, but why would they need it? And then he thirdly justified it by saying it was used for medicinal purposes and it's not a strain that's in Jamaica. So the question is, are Jamaica going to be growing another version of cannabis? If so, why? And why can Jamaica not send Canada what they don't have?
Mm.
And it just begs a whole question. There's an
Listen,
industry out there crying for cannabis, crying for quality cannabis for medicinal purposes, and the Jamaicans aren't, for whatever reason, accidentally on purpose, aren't able to.
that is like a slap in the face, isn't it? You think about it.
And that's what they were coming. They wanted to speak to the officials who organize or agree the license. And the officials who agreed the license, what their response was, send me an email with your request and your question, and I will respond to the email.
You go delete.
Exactly. Accidentally on purpose.
At the end of it,
No, they probably wouldn't delete it, but they'd probably get mixed up in every single other email. So if we respond to you in 10 working days,
yeah,
you responded. And you're thinking,
we're looking into it.
Yeah, one of them ones, one of those holding emails, and you're thinking, okay, is it taking you that long to look into it?
Yeah.
So that was I was just intrigued the conversation that was going ahead, and it appeared that that information was not meant to be leaked in terms of asking for the clarifications. So my reasoning is it's information, it's in the public domain. So why are you telling off the person who's telling the truth, asking the question? And sometimes we don't ask the questions. We're comfortable with
the thing is that the let's say the whole of that horticultural industry, when they said, oh, we're going to legalize this and that and whatever, or ease the pressure of it, when that was brought in, they had no intentions of involving anyone from Jamaica like how we know it, right? Like, for instance, a man got like a few acres and he can grow and then make a thing out of it, out of his few acres. He had no intentions of allowing that to happen. They had no intention, right? So that is why they got it to such an extent that if you don't put in nearly £60,000, right, you can't even get the license or anything else to grow the thing, right? And then just like a franchise, right, it is regulated, right, with what strain you're actually growing. You know, so in other words, it's not like how you would say, boy, we got flavors from all around different districts and everything, you know, as we know that you can do what grows in one area is different to what grows in the next area, and they have different the medicinal, for conversation here, medicinal purposes, and also the plant itself is adaptable in many different ways, right? But each per its own region. Right? So, but they don't want to involve you in that, right? Just like how the industry, remember the hemp industry, right? And this is a couple of 100 years ago now, right? That was one of the biggest imports, along with sugar, right, from the Caribbeans and the Africas as well, right? That was part of the trade route. You understand? So it's not like they're unfamiliar, and they've got that industry already blueprinted. So they're just reigniting that same industry, but they're not involved in, yeah.
Yep.
So you know, that's how it got.
Definitely cutting them out, and considering the grade. And again, they were talking about the grade and the uses of the oils and the cannabis and how it can be used. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily the Canada per se, but it's just across the board. The growers was just saying that they were having challenges with selling the grade that we have. And they were one of the things they were saying was that some of the other countries, whether it be Europe, Canada, and or America, the grade was so poor that they were dumping. And that was the query that they were having. Was Canada dumping this bog standard lower grade, can't do nothing with it, not even good to.
Not even good for bushfire.
Yes, yes, it's not good. Are they dumping it on the Jamaicans when we've got
Hold on. Let me think about that. Let me think about that.
Exactly. Because they were burning in Canada their cannabis because the quality of it wasn't up to standard. So the question is, why do we want that here?
Yeah, well, you know what. Out of many a thing, many a mistake by one person has been the fortune of others as well. So therefore, what else are they going to do with it?
My perception, if it's a poor grade and they're looking to burn it, dump it, or get rid of it, and you import it into Jamaica, are they then going to start doing that cross fertilization and lowering the grade of the cannabis in Jamaica?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Come on now. The thing, it's like certain aspects from Jamaica, right? First of all, right? I'm not going to say it's the best or whatever, but it is up there recognized as being the one of the best qualities in that way there, right? Now they've got the coffee, right? And what I was very surprised with as well, and it's only because it was reported that what very wealthy billionaires they have a that they like to wear, right? And it's a cotton, and it's grown in Jamaica, right? And they say that it's the highest quality cotton what they can get, right? And I was very surprised with that. But yes, they grow cotton in Jamaica, right? Come from Jamaica. The only thing is diamonds or something like that. But then again, there was a small article where these people were digging up the ground with their hand about there's diamonds in this hill or something.
That was a couple of weeks ago.
But
people were coming from left, right, and centre to go in the soil. And when they when they took it to the officials who said, okay, well, let's look at what you've come up with, it was stones that had little or no value. So effectively, they're telling people to go away, go home, pack up, go home, because there's no such thing as gold and or the raw materials as they were envisaging in their hills.
Yeah. Come and dig up your fortune, but with your hand.
Yeah. And there was a lot of people.
Let's look. I wouldn't be surprised if it does exist. I wouldn't be surprised, right? But obviously, they're not going to allow you to benefit or reap the benefits of that because they probably say it's crown land anyhow, right? So basically, anything that come out the earth is subject to crown, or something like that, So you know how it goes. They don't allow you to be the beneficiary of them things there at all.
No.
There,
If we're thinking about beneficiaries, the issue in terms of, or it's still an ongoing issue in terms of the beaches and one in Portland, as to whether or not the residents can use it, access it. And there were also something in terms of the Blue Lagoon, which was made famous or infamous in terms of the James Bond movie back in the day. Again, whether or not that beach and that area can be used by the locals, because people are starting to lay claim, take claim, make claim on that space.
You see how wicked people are. How can right? You say, oh, see this beach here, we are claiming it for ourselves. No public or anybody that resides on the island can come there. That's when all 20,000 should just come down on there one time with the one security guard within torchlight about, no, you can't come through this fence. let's see what happens now, huh?
No, that's an ongoing debate in terms of the open spaces, the beachfront, and like you say, who's laying claim. But going back in terms of food kind and food stuff, again, I was having a conversation. This was a while back in the past, in terms of honey and Jamaican honey. So we'd often, and I know in the past, I've never actually got involved in that Muka honey and thinking about it as the best thing since sliced bread from New Zealand. I've always, as I've traveled to Jamaica, I've always purchased honey and brought it back with me. And it's sat down in the cupboard, and sometimes I can see that they've actually doctored it. They put sugar in it to make it flow better. And I bought honey which is pucker. You leave it in it could be as your temperature is now, and it still flows beautiful out of the container. And one of the things that he was saying was, depending on which flowers the bees land on, you get again a different strain of honey.
Exactly.
And bearing in mind, and you just mentioned the bitter bush. He said that he was called into a property and there was bees, and they were looking to get rid of the bees, but before they wanted to get rid of the bees, they just wanted to check something with him. And he looked at one of the cones and tasted what was on the cone, and he said it was bitter. It was bitter. But then he recognized, he looked around and he saw what was growing locally. And the bees were feeding on the bitter bush. Honey that was produced was bitter. But it then indicated the different grades and strains of the honey that you're going to get in Jamaica. Just because of where the bees are pollinating and which plants they land on. So it's a beautiful thing, but we talk about this other honey that begins with an M, but do we actually big up our own honey that we get on the island that has the same or even better properties? Who knows?
And this is just a thing, because obviously, you know, there's a lot of things that are how can I put it? They're available to us if you're there on the island, right? But to go and say that it's going to be mass produced, right? I feel that would be the next step, you know, for people to do, because if you can, and you got a hive or whatever, and you're producing honey in that way, obviously, you know, the amount that you're producing probably could be enough for your family, right? But for those who don't, it's a little thing on the side, right? And obviously, if there's somebody who's going to take it up and say, right, okay, then we'll do a regional branding, right? So if you got like 20 or 30 homes in the area, and then you're going around every 3 months or so like that to take the honey and everything from the hives, right? At least you know, say, all right, we have this amount, and then because of the availability of it, you know, that's how your price will go up or down or whatever, or reasonable or whatever, isn't it?
And that's the collective endeavor as a community coming together in order to make money, earn money, and sell something that other people want, more to the point.
Exactly. I know that, like, as you're stating earlier on, the water shortage business out there, right? But, you know, are you going to rely on the authorities to supply you water, or are you going to find a way of how to get it yourself, right? You know, like as most of them out there, they have their tanks, right? And then they have another one up there for rainfall as well, and everything. So in that way, there, although it may not be drinkable at the rainwater, but it can be useful for whatever you need it for at the time.
Flushing toilets and watering the plants. Watering the plants is perfect, ideal, because the plants do well with their natural environment, which is the rainwater rather than the water that has been processed for drinking.
Yeah.
So that's always been the case, and always the thoughts behind that. So those were a couple of areas that just came to my mind from what's happening in Jamaica on the ground. So the other thing is, like you mentioned, and I'd spoken about it a little bit last week, in terms of Queen Afura and International Women's Day. So I'm going to hold over Queen Afura to our next conversation. But in terms of International Women's Day, and a couple of things again that came to my mind. I am walking and doing my long, slow, silent walk, or not so silent in Jamaica.
Yeah, you have to emphasize as well, because like obviously, you're saying you're going your long walk. Obviously, it's part of your protocol, right?
Yeah.
Why the silent walk? Why the silent walk first and everything else? Yeah.
Because the silent walk gives you a chance to. Sometimes we need to slow down. We can only hear our inner voice and get in tune to our inner voice without the noise and the confusion. And some I used to, and in the past I have always slept with the radio on.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give me the silence. That just gives noise and clutter. So the long silent walk for me gives me an opportunity. And even when I was filling up the water, all I could hear was the sound of water coming out of the rock, and the sounds of mosquitoes around me. Because at that point, there was a good 10, 20 minutes where there were no cars. And because I'm in the hills, I could hear myself think. And it's when we're doing our long, slow, silent walk, or when I'm doing my long, slow, silent walk, it's very similar to the meditation. It gives you an opportunity to reconnect, and it gives you an opportunity to be centered and present in terms of the now, which then gives you an opportunity to. Sometimes we talk about things like deja vu and think, I've been here before. Or we think to ourselves, things come into our mind and then they float out again. If you're not present, you won't feel, hear, or know that you've had a whisper of infinite intelligence. So you just ignore it. I'll bring you back to that analogy in terms of there's a flood. I know it's not Jamaica, but there are some places in the world where there's that flood. And goes on top of the roof. It's still raining. A rowing boat comes along. I'm okay. God's going to save me. A speedboat comes along. I'm okay. God's going to save me. Helicopter comes along. God's going to save me. A cruise ship comes along, and they're big. They're big. No, that's okay. God's going to save me. He dies, gets to heaven, and he says to God in a conversation, why did you not save me? But I sent you the boat, the rowing boat. I sent you the jet skis. I sent you, and you ignored it. When we're in our space of running around and we're consumed with the noise of this world, we don't hear what our Creator sends to us. We don't tap into and listen to those infinite whispers. And in not listening to those infinite whispers, the journey we take, when we could have turned left to take us to where our destination is, we turn right. In turning right, it takes us down a whole different path called life, which potentially we were meant to go anyway. But why not make the journey easy for yourself? If you can do a shortcut because you've listened to your intuition, and my intuition and red flags, and I was listening to something the other day, and the guy was saying, only have one red flag. Don't wait for 3, 4, 5, or 6. Because if you have one red flag, you then keep it moving. If you wait for 3, 4, 5, or 6, that could be 1 month, 1 year, a couple of years down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not in tune with ourselves, if we're not prepared to listen internally, and that's one of the things that Queen Afua talks about, and other speakers will talk about. If you're not prepared to listen to the internal voice, and we've all got it, what are we missing out on?
What are we missing out on? Exactly. What are we missing out on?
That's the thing. That's the $10 million question. What are we missing out on? So
Exactly.
if I'm thinking about the women and thinking about the appreciation for the International Women's Day, like I said, in going for my long, slow, silent walks, it gives me an opportunity to do that thinking. And as I'm going on my long, slow, silent walks, I'm seeing the dust cart coming along, the operatives jumping off, picking up the rubbish, and there's one woman amongst them. And every time I see her jumping off and just doing it, just picking up the as what she can, picking up the rubbish, the black bags, whatever, fling it in the cart. And I think to myself, I smile at myself because I think to myself, you know what? There is nothing that we cannot do. When I see them brushing the street, so that means they'll go down with their machete and chop the grass at the side of the walk. They will chop down any of the trees that are overhanging. Most times when I see that happening, there are more women than men doing it. And I don't know whether or not it's this culture. I don't know whether or not the men them are work shy. I don't know whether or not there was a line and then women were at the front of the line. And I don't know. But it's just interesting just to see the fact that the women are out there doing what needs to be done. I spoke to that sister and I said, why? She says, I've got a family. I need to feed my family. And she was prepared. And I commended her. I said, you're prepared to do what you need to do in order to feed your family. And sometimes we get very, that's beyond me. That's not my, no, let's think about what we can do. That's in our control.
Exactly.
Even within the magazine, so that means International Women's Day, it's not a holiday in Jamaica like it is in some countries. But there are events. There was one at the Pegasus Hotel yesterday, all-day event. And in terms of the media, there were articles in the media that highlight the achievements of women. And one of the achievements was in terms of fishing. A woman going out there, catching the fish and bringing it back and selling and just being able to feed her family, but also feed and provide enough fish for the community members that they can come there and buy their fish on a daily basis, or the frequency in terms of when she comes in with her catch. The women who are the firefighters, the women who are breaking down and doing
all about
industries that you wouldn't necessarily think about. And it's just beautiful to see, to recognize, and just to reflect on, because we've got the ace fisherwoman, Asha Nelson, reigns supreme at sea. I know when I buy my fish, I'm just seeing a bag of man them that's coming and scaling. They're the ones going out. It's a woman who's coming down from another area where they catch their fish and bringing it down to the coast where I am, and you think to yourself, it's beautiful just seeing that women are making inroads. Is it enough? That's a different conversation. But it's just notice for me, it's noticing and recognizing and hailing them up and thinking, you know what? Good on you, sister. Good on you for doing what you need to do in order to support yourself and your family. And feeling comfortable enough to say, yeah, I'm doing it. Seeing them in terms of fixing roads, and you're thinking, hang on a minute, there's always a woman in that mix. In the UK, you don't tend to see it in the same way. If there's anyone fixing a road, it's all men in high vis.
The thing, like even in the industry that I used to work in, I was obviously coming from the 80s where I joined in it, right? In the engineering field, it's predominantly male, right? And even as I was doing, I think it took about a good 15 years before I saw a woman doing an apprenticeship or came across a woman doing an apprenticeship. And the thing is that it's not that it was the first time it ever happened. It was the first time I actually came across it. You know? And then obviously when the women that I've seen going there, they applied themselves and gone on to like senior engineering and management levels and everything else, right? So they've applied themselves and they've been able to progress in that way. Many, and I will tell you now, many a man had resented the fact that there were women there, right? And they said it. They said it, like, you know, as people do. They talk their BS, whether they're there or not. You know, it says, "Oh, you can't do what a man does," or anything like that. And like even like when the occasions when they had been working with me or alongside me, right? If they couldn't do something, I would have gone and helped them. You understand? But I wouldn't do it in a way of saying, boy, because you're a woman, you can't do them things there, right? Listen, everybody needs assistance at some time with something. You understand? And that's how I always just looked at it. It's not that I was just doing the work for them, you know? Right? So in that way there, we had that rapport when I was working with them, right? But the other side of it is when we left from the UK and we went to like Germany, Turkey, these various places, and everywhere that they went to, it was still regarded as, oh, you're a woman, what are you doing here? And you know, and obviously they had to be taught, right, that in the UK and the Americas, women are regarded as being equal within the working environment. And I'm going to tell you now, a lot of them struggled with it. A lot of them struggled. Like it's one, what came to my mind was in Turkey. When he's in Turkey, a lot of them, they refused to even talk to the women. Yeah, you understand? And I'm thinking, well, you know what? That's your culture. That's how you treat your woman then, right? And they did. They treated them as if they were third class citizen. They said the second class was their dog. You understand? Oh, it's very very true, right? And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. You know, and in many cases, I felt embarrassed in the way how some of them were, but I made it clear that I don't tolerate that type of behavior around me. You understand? So therefore, you know, certain times I wouldn't be moving with them or anything like that, or going around them. You know? They go and do what they want to do and behave how they want to behave, but not in my presence. or not me. So I would, in preference to saying I'm staying here, I would remove myself from there when they were carrying on certain ways. Yeah, right. So in that way, and that. But what I found in doing that, obviously, because I'm from a different place, like the UK, as they saw it at the time, right? The women would come and speak to me about it, right? Now, obviously, where the factory that we was working in, right, was on the outskirts of Istanbul, right, a main city. And they said if you go further, just like 10 miles from outside of Istanbul, we as women would have to fully cover up, right? So they would literally drive with their burqas in the car because they know so that certain areas they would have to cover up. You understand? And I said, whoa. I saw it go. And they said, yeah, that's how it is over here. That's how it is. You know? And I said, wow, because I feel sorry for Uno. Sorry for Uno. Right? And that is why they look up to and they try to emulate a lot of not necessarily the women, but the free status. Yeah, the free living, the free independent status, which a lot of the women do crave for. And let me turn it back to you. Let me tell you, I don't want to take over your conversation. Go ahead, my sister. Let me do this one then. So go on.
So then something else so the parliament sat, so they allowed some young women to go in and speak in parliament earlier on this week, again to give them a feel for, but obviously there's a young female leaders will urge government to prioritize gender equality, women's economic empowerment. So their discussion when they were in parliament, that was around the area that they were talking. So it's just given a different voice and giving the female voice in terms of, do we do it often enough? And one of the questions I would almost ask is, how many of you over the last couple of days received those emails or not emails, the WhatsApp messages that said, Happy International Women's Day? And there may have been a picture, there may have been a verse, there may have been something that was there. So I tend to sidestep those type of celebrations. And even in terms of International Women's Day, I tend to sidestep that celebration in itself, because my perception is, and I saw one person, and it was a man who had written his response to everyone wishing International Women's Day happy, happy, happy. He said that his father taught him that women need to be appreciated every day. So he's not going to, he hears the International Women's Day, but he's going to appreciate each and every one of the women on this platform every single day. And I thought, yeah, big up. And that's when I'm talking about our energies. I'm talking about the masculine, the feminine. I'm talking about how we can have that dialogue and have that open dialogue. So this day was used almost to enhance. So we know that the roots were in the early 20th century, and it was a fight for women's rights and suffragettes and suffrage. So initially it was observed in the United States on February the 28th, 1909. And it was to honor a strike by female garment workers that previous year. So the proposal in terms of meeting and having a specific day was discussed at a socialist women's conference in Copenhagen in 1910. And the idea was embraced, and the rights were rippled across and around the world. So the first International Women's Day was celebrated on March the 19th, 1911 in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. Again, there were more and more women were getting involved in the Europe in relation to the International Women's Day celebration. But over the following years, the date was later changed to the 8th of March, and it's been celebrated on that date ever since. So the World International Women's Day became a symbol for the struggle for women's rights and a day for women to speak out about the issues that affected them during the war, the protests and the strikes and the major roles. So they were fighting for many things at that point. So in the decades that followed, the International Women's Day continues to be celebrated across the world. Some places in the world you'll have a national holiday. And the United Nations has also adopted it. And that was from 1975. And they've officially recognized the International Women's Day. And it's now become that global event. But like I said, I was getting a whole load of WhatsApp messages, Happy International Women's Day, blah, 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 red. And I just kept on thinking, but who would I lift up? And I didn't have to think hard, because there's two people that I would lift up, or one person I'd definitely lift up, and then others that came to mind. So the first person that I'd lift up is my mother. I'd like to honor my mother. And Queen Nanny of the Maroons, I would honor her as well. And I will speak about some other women in the UK, because it encourages me to think about the issues. And it encourages me to be
Could you just repeat that last piece again?
So it will encourage me if I'm thinking about honoring, I'm thinking about honoring my mother for what she's done, and just recounting the stories that she said. And I've listened and I've thought to myself, it's just a story. But when I think about, hey, we're bigging up International Women's Day on the 8th of March around the world, and where there's different themes. The theme this year is equality, equity. But I'm thinking, you know what? Let me just park the themes. Earlier on, I was speaking about the women that I saw brushing the streets, the women that I saw on the garbage truck. I was speaking about the women that I was seeing in different places. The ordinary women. Those are the ones that I want to lift up. But first and foremost, I want to lift up my mother. I want to honor my mother, and I want to honor Queen Nanny. And I'll speak a bit more about her in terms of, she is a Jamaican national hero, and she's the leader of the Maroon Group of enslaved Africans. They escaped slavery and established their free communities in the mountains of Jamaica during the 17th and 18th century. So where she established Queen Nanny, where she established her home, was exactly the same space where my mother was born, in Moortown, so many years later. So I was up there in, like I said, I went up to Moortown on Monday. And as I was standing, because I was standing by the school in Moortown, and as I was standing by the school, I was thinking to myself, I looked around and there was Nanny's image, and there was the school motto underneath it. And I thought to myself, I remember coming to Jamaica years ago. 1977 was the first time I'd been to Jamaica. No, 1976, first time I came to Jamaica. and been coming since then. And I don't remember the prominence or anyone speaking about nanny. Maybe I was too young, I didn't understand. But if I think about the images, every school that I pass now, more often than not, they will have pictures of the national heroes, and Queen Nanny is one of those pictures that will be depicted on the wall.
That's good. That's good.
It seemed
One of the things I do like about them is that it's, you know, instead of raising like statues or anything like this, and they just adapt and they say, you know what, let's do paintings, and they do murals on most of the walls there on the main, so you could drive there and you could see the whole history right there. So
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
We've got Brother Naya who's come and joined us again.
Greetings, Brother Naya.
Yeah, watch out. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, rise up, my sister, my empress. You know, it's some very intriguing words you're saying. You know, so I don't want to cut you, but the thing that caught my mind was that this International Women's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, it's like I don't mean to be this. Why should we have Valentine's Day? Why should we have Father Christmas Day?
This is what Sister Sandra was explaining.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I'm echoing her thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But so, you know what? I'm not against it, because the system that we are in, you know, if you look at the way men treat women, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Where did they get this from? Where did look in Iraq? Yeah, you cannot wear. Not in the Taliban country, right?
I'm surprised they still have women.
No, it's unbelievable. No, but what I'm trying to say is, like, it's unbelievable that where do we get this thing? The mother that, hold on a second. So if these women, if you cannot be born by a woman, but then the same people that I just find it unbelievable, you know. I just find so where do we get this thing from? And I believe it's from, I can go into this now. It's from religion, patriarchy.
Okay. Let's pose that question to Sister Sandra. See if she can come with something.
So that's one of the conversations I was due to have for next week when we're thinking about Queen Afua. And that's one of the things that she said, others have said, from a religious point of view, it's often seen as a matriarch, as you indicated, Brother Naya, when in theory, as you've rightly pointed out, the balance needs to be there. The conversations need to be there in terms of the contributions that both sides made to that religion, in terms of ISIS and other gods. When we're thinking about Egypt and we're thinking about what they contributed to the whole ecosystem is the wrong word, but in terms of the development of whether it be education, whether it be knowledge, whether it be the contributions that were made. We do get down that rabbit hole if we choose to, if we're thinking about religion in the current state. We'll always talk about the men. There are some religions, though, that do refer to women, but those aren't the ones that will be highlighted, encouraged, and Christianity being the one that most people will have some form of knowledge and or affiliation to. It's often seen as a male domain. So I do like what you're saying there in terms of Brother Naya, in terms of we do need to expand the conversation. We need to have a conversation, and we need to recognize the contributions of both sexes in order to achieve the betterment of each and every one of us.
Exactly. One of the things that I've noticed, right? We've been within our own systems for a very long time. When I say systems, our own, like we've been born disconnected from our original, right? Or place of origin. That's better. Yeah, we've been disconnected from that for so long. Generations, like 5, 6, 7 generations away from our place of origin. Unfortunately, we've adapted many of the Europeanized culture and how we interact with each other. When we see and we go to like the place of our origins, or we feel it's a place of our origins, we see that they are treating their women in a disapproval way from what we would see, right? Because obviously, we wouldn't want to impose the draconian, how can I call it, the draconian type of behavior displayed by the Europeans towards us, as when they saw us as no more than servants, right, or slaves, yeah. But in many ways, we are seeing that when we go to these other places, the way how the attitude that many of the people that we would like to say the land of our origins are treating their women, right? We are totally dissatisfied with that as well, right? Now, obviously, I'm taking it from my perspective of, wait a minute, if I have my woman, wife, or any associate with me who happens to be a female, they stand equally beside me, and I would expect that as you treat me, you would treat my associate, wife, woman, whoever who's with me, the same way. But they find it extremely difficult in many situations. And I'm not just talking about the Arabs to us as black, right? I'm talking about black towards our black women. Yeah. Right. So have you ever come across that? Because you usually travel or as a solo person, isn't it? Right. In other words, you don't have your partner with you most times.
So when I'm traveling, I need to be, so normally when I've traveled to Africa and different countries within Africa, whether it be Egypt, whether it be Gambia, Ghana, if I've traveled, we've traveled as women. So the reactions that we tend to get it's complimentary. I've not come across any situation where I felt uncomfortable. Okay, let me rephrase that. In Kenya, I felt uncomfortable, but that was back in the day. That was well over 20, 30 years ago. And that was religious conflict in the neighboring country. And there was still that upheaval and challenges within the country. But that was the only space where I felt uncomfortable.
I was smiling because I just had the visions of you going knocking on the door.
No, we didn't look at
That's a little private joke.
But no, in general, but I was speaking with someone recently, and I may be going to Dubai to do a speaking engagement later on this year. And one of the things that she was speaking about was just, even though she's comfortable in Dubai, she recognizes there's lots of things she can't do. And one of them is, as much, she says, like getting around transport wise, the transport system, you've got a women's only carriage within the transport system. So she said it's safe. However, when she got out of her transport, jumped in a taxi in order to get herself home, the taxi driver saying, "But you're a woman, why are you out at this hour? Why aren't you at home?" And it's that type of thing I know that I'd have to get my head around, because when I'm going to Dubai, I'll be going on my own, even though I'll be meeting people out there. So it's things like that that I would need to, like I said, get my head around in terms of how I would normally jump in a transport and go where I'm going, and jump in a taxi and expect we're going to have a civil conversation, not why aren't you at home conversation, or who's with you, looking almost like, is there a chaperone? Is there someone else also coming into the car? No, I'm on my own. It's something that I would need to, I recognize I'm going to need to become familiar with. Different cultures do things in different ways.
You have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of that. This is the thing. I know that we're in appreciation of certain women's and their achievements and everything, but it seems very strange, right, that over the years of suppression and oppression, right, still women are experiencing this type of BS wherever they're going. Global understanding, our lives, we are more intelligent. We've seen the historical evidence and the unfairness of life itself, and yet there are still those out there who are putting this type of BS onto women and men because of color differences, cultural differences, and everything else. When will this stop? Right? Not that I'm looking for the answer for that, but that is the thing. That is the thing in my mind. Right? Hold on, brother Naya. I've just allowed brother Julius to come in. Right? So let's allow brother Julius to make a comment, and then we come back to you, Naya. Okay? Okay, brother Julius.
Yes, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your guest.
Yes, that's Sister Sandra. Sister Sandra.
And also to the Sister Sandra. Okay. And also to the Gambia boy.
Brother Naya.
Bro.
Yeah, my brother, in a Babylon. Yeah. We just want to find out something. And really, Brother Naya asked a question, and it also referred to religion.
Yes.
But religion, I don't think is the 100% of things. Because I think what happened in the early days or up till now is this what they call a demonic masculine of a man who tend to think where that strength is, the masculine, the gender form of them is the thing that is causing this dominatory figure and think them over women. Because really, you get most men, you might get few women, yes, who know women go and assist and do farming and do certain things then. But you might find out in the gender figure, the masculine side, to a bit of the heavier side. Them, of course, even their building or whatever it is, you can find out that even a more stronger man can even try to dominate another man himself. So this is where that masculine form in them, that is the thing that has to be disciplined in order to carry that respect for a woman. Just like Brother Naya was commenting just now that we all come from a woman. So if a man begins to realize that and everything, that will kind of balance them in a way. But because of you find a place like Iceland, Sweden, that's where you have the equal gender form, because I think they have been trained like that. This is what Britain is trying to do, like trying to respect women more, or women have more say, or whatever. But the main aspect of it is that masculine form that is causing the whole overcoming of a man to overcome a woman, whether in the house, whether in the street, and all this sort of thing. This is the problem.
Well, the thing, okay, then I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're actually. I'm going to allow Sister Sandra to come back on that, and then I'm going to formulate something and talk to you about something. Go ahead, Sister Sandra.
No, you go. No, you go ahead.
Okay then. Right. As we've gone through our times, and we've gone through our times, and we've lived under the rules and regulations of the Europeanized society, which has been influential throughout the whole of say the last couple of 100 years, right? And they've gone and put that into and infiltrated a lot of cultural places around the world, where some have adopted it, and some has totally rejected it, right? To the extent of that they've gone to extremes. Yeah. The thing is that to see progress in life and society, right? Which one is right? Which one is wrong? Obviously, if there's a balance and a true righteous harmonious relationship, that somebody like you can find them, you can get them, those who've been together for 60, 70, 80 years, right? They literally spent their whole lifetime together, and they have been able to be extremely prosperous. And when I say prosperous, in a sense of that they have their own way of getting through life in a harmonious, respectful way, right? Ups and downs, yes. And ins and out, yes, right? But they've been able to negotiate their way through life. Then you get the different doctrines, right? Which I presume Brother Naya is indicating to, right? That you get the different doctrines what come in there, and then all of a sudden, you bring this other third entity, I'm going to call it entity, into that relationship, which seems to divide and brings question and doubt into the relationship that you are having, with that harmonious relationship you are having with that other individual, right? And I think to myself, well, you know what? If you ain't doing anything to enhance us and to get us to a higher level, or to why am I going to be using you as a vehicle? Yeah, and that's just one of my opinions upon that. Right. But I see you, Brother Icon. Let me just bring in Brother Naya for a short while. Let me see where I'm going. All right, Brother Naya.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Rise up. Wow, brilliant. Empress Sandra. Let me just rise up to Brother Judas Icon. Listen to this now, right? I was listening to a program from, it was called Togo, I think it's called Channel Togo, yeah? And they were talking about Women's Day. But listen to this now. They were talking about the roles of, they were talking about the roles. Listen to this now. They brought a counselor on now, yeah? The woman said, no, okay. Can we listen?
Take your time. Slow down.
Yes, sir.
Okay, come now.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So she was saying can women do mining? No, women cannot do mining. Can women do? So basically, she was just trying to say that the physical. She was pointing at the physical things.
Yes.
But listen to this now. Then she was talking about a man can do chefing. Yeah, a man could do. So you know what? It's women that are defending this whole. But what I want to ask anyway. Let me come back now. Wait.
Exactly. No, come. Slow down. Get your thoughts together and let's come. Come on.
Yes, sir. I want to ask the Empress. Yeah. Does she feel that because we're coming, we have to separate the motherland from our upbringing in the
UK.
Yeah. So does she feel that? How does she feel that feminism has impacted this thing? Because feminism, right? Because I'm not disrespectful, bro. I'm just even lost for words, because.
All right. We'll just call it there. Call it there. Leave it at that question then. Yeah. For now. Okay. All right. Okay then. Got an icon. Right. You have to make your volume higher, if you can.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
That's beautiful. Yes, King.
You want to rise up to you and
Sister Sandra. Yeah, man.
You've been listening to the show from the start. And heard the different points of view. Just on the woman thing, I want to just that point first.
Bring your volume up again, please.
Is that loud enough there?
That's good. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna address the woman's day, and then I'll get the point to talk about the contest situation in Jamaica.
Okay then, good.
I mean, I've been on some platform, with feminist women. And one of the questions I always ask them, if the world was supposed to go back to matriarchal right now, like you said, but they said it's a patriarchal world. It was supposed to go back to a matriarchal world. What would the woman do different that they are? What would women be able to do then that they can't do now?
You can kill the man them.
Hold on, brother.
Don't jump in, brother. Dyer. Come on now, you behave yourself.
If we return to matriarchal rule, what is the woman in the world? What are they able to do now? That when matriarchal rule come in, what would they be able to do then? What's the difference would it make? And whatever Miss Empress on the answer that are. If you research it, you can pick up something for that.
All right. I'll let Sister Sandra come back with my answer with that. Well, what's your point or statement that he's going to make then, or you want the answer first?
Yes, I would like the answer first. I would just want to
Okay then. All right. So Sister Sandra, right?
Just let me get the question right. What's the difference of?
Right.
If we could wake up tomorrow and say we're gonna have a matriarchal rule, so as you're saying, it's a patriarchal rule now because they're saying it's patriarchal, so men are running the world. So if we could get the world to be going back to matriarchal, so the woman running the world, what would women be able to do in that type of setting that they can't do right now in this present time?
I smile because there was a conversation that Aston had with Brother Naya.
Good.
And the difference that I would see is that there'd be more conversation, good, bad, or indifferent, rather than the anger or the violence. So we may have an opportunity to talk things through. So it's not necessarily then we're not using the strength, because we recognize as women we don't have the same strength as you guys as men, but we do recognize that we approach things in a different way. So then there may be more a collective in terms of women in order to lift up that lamppost, for argument's sake, rather than it just being one man or a woman in the machinery that lifts up that lamppost. But I think that the bottom line is that there'll be a different level of conversation before we even get to the discussion. So some of the arguments, some of the angst, some of the confusion, some of the I'm going to go in there and just let off won't happen, because from a woman's point of view, we may not necessarily come to an answer. We could be gurgitating all day. But then if it stops the violence and it encourages us to step back and think about things rationally, then that would be the difference in terms of whether or not it's a patriarchal society rather than a matriarchal society. Women think in a different way than men. So if I think about Queen Nanny of the Maroons, she was thinking in a different way than her brother Kuju and or some of the men who were found their freedom through running away from the plantation. They think differently. And it's that difference of thought that will actually improve the lives of both man and woman rather than as it is now.
Yes, yes. Okay. Look, I'll come in with something. Over the past 10 years, and it's ramped up over the last 5 years. There has in the movie industry, there has been the surge or release of a lot of female heroes, superheroes roles. Right now, if we put that into the context of what is happening around the world, there has been a lot of more female political representations around the world as well. Now, as you were indicating, if it had changed, if things changed now and went to a matriarchal instead of the patriarchal, right, then things would be different. I agree with you to an extent. The reason why I agree with you is that the ones who are being put into these positions, like the Markles, Maggie Thatcher, Clinton, they've all played roles, right, as a patriarchal, right? They put themselves in that way and they've carried out acts like a patriarchal and established themselves, right? Because remember, even when Maggie Thatcher died, nobody wanted to go to her funeral, and she even requested that they don't give her the ceremonial of what a prime minister would usually get, right? Because she know a state funeral, because she knew what she did, right? Everybody would be spitting upon her as she walked, as they drag her through the streets, right? Right. So and she requested that because she know what she did, right? And obviously the devastation that she put around the world as well, right? And of course, she was out of character of being a woman in that aspect there, right? This is the thing. What's happening is that we, as like the Galaxy family, we appreciate the role, right, and the status of our women in our family. We will always show respect to our women in their role and within our family, our makeup, right? In other words, we have set already the standard of what we would like, and we know and our expectations of what our women would be. And it's not no less than any man, but they have a certain role, right? And vice versa, the men have a certain role as well. Okay? And we respect each other in that way there. And in the sense of that, we allow anything else to come into that, like a doctrine or belief, right? As I stated earlier on, if it's coming in to divide us, I'm afraid that we don't allow that to happen, or we wouldn't allow that to happen. Yeah. Okay. I mean, like, you can message me or call in and say something different to that, but that is how I feel that we should be looking at this thing, right? Brother Icon.
Brother Icon.
Yeah. Hold on, Brother Julius. Allow Brother Icon to come back with
I
his
just want to see if I can add on to Brother. Then maybe he might give his own answer.
Okay, Brother Icon. Brother Icon, go ahead with your statement, please.
Yeah. So what I'm saying now, okay, I hear what our sister said, and I definitely agree with her. And she answered the correct thing I would say, because what I'm getting from is because what happened with this day now. I mean, it was yesterday. I was on the radio. I didn't even mention it because, as brother Naya was saying, I look at it just like Valentine's Day, like Mother's Day. Woman is everything we need every day is their day. They don't want to give us life, so it's only going to the celebration of giving. They're going to turn it into a monetary gain where they're going to have presents coming out now for Women's Day. They need to buy a woman a present like Valentine's Day and all that. So they're going
of course, the flower market is heavy.
Right. So for me, I can see there's a monetary gain to it, but I love what sister said, because what she's basically saying, there's nothing that woman cannot do right now.
That's right.
That they will be able to do then. The only thing that woman will be able to do different is they will bring that nurturing where all these wars that's going on in the world, if woman is going, they will take more time, look into it and calm it down and say, you know what, don't fight. Come on, I know you brothers don't agree, but let's not fight. We need to listen up. So that's the difference they were doing. But in terms of them having a limitation to what they can do or what they can be or what they're achieving, I don't really see that going on right now in this patriarchal world. Apart from, as Brother Maya rightfully points about with the Islam, Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan. But around the world, women have more rules and laws that's protecting them, or recently until the LGBTQ ABC community came into place. But on average, women have more rules and laws that protect them right across the world more than anybody else.
Of course,
So
of course.
Yes, we have to acknowledge that. But yes, I'm going to land here for now on that point because I really want to talk about the marijuana, but I know what you want to come to.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Pause. Brother Julius, and then you, Brother Naya. Okay. So, Brother Julius, because he came with a statement earlier on. Go on, Brother Julius. Brother Julius. Okay, he's gone. Okay, then. Brother Naya, go ahead.
Yes, King. Is Brother Icon there?
Yes, he still is. He's still with us.
Yes, sir. What he said, he said all the rights and stuff, but let me just tell you this right now. Can you give childbirth?
Come on now. Let's not drag it down that line there.
No, it's a serious thing.
No. You are part of the process. You're part of the process of the birth of the child.
No, listen, bro. They're trying to cut us out of this sperm count thing, and you understand? Can you give childbirth though?
No. We just listen. Hold on. Brother Naya. Context of this program. We're not going into the hypothetical and wait a minute. The weird science element of it, right? Man is man, woman is woman. We come together and we can produce life. Okay. Let's just leave it at that for now. Okay. All right.
Okay. But you have to respect the mother of your creation, you know.
Look,
because this
I also have a discussion on that, but let's leave that to another time. But still, okay.
I'm gonna try experiment and bring you taught them back. Bro, the bomb up that I'm talking about, bro. Sorry, you cut me off, bro. I don't give a shit. No, this is nonsense.
No. Okay then. All right then. Let's listen. Don't slip off the horse. You've been riding all good already. So just hold your space.
Okay, I apologize, man. I'll be angry, man. Sorry.
I know you do. All right, then cool yourself. Okay then. My sister Sandra, come. Take the reins and go on with it.
I think Brother Icon was going to say something about the Maroons or something.
No. That's another
conversation. Okay.
That's a conversation for another day.
All right then.
Oh, the ganja.
Oh, right, the ganja. Okay.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
Just quickly, I don't know what Brother Naya, I don't know what you heard, but obviously didn't hear what I was talking about for the question. But let's move on. I'm looking into the fact because Sister Sandra, I'm realizing with our people, and this is no disrespect, and I'm listening to our people on the platform. They like to play the blame game. They like to blame everybody else what's happening to them. before I came on Galaxy, I've been on Galaxy over 3 years now. I've always heard Russell Shane come in. If you're familiar with Russell Shane, he always talk about the weed, telling people they need to invest, and he talked to us about how you can get the license down there. Actually, let me correct you. It was 60,000 Jamaican dollars for the license, not 60,000 pounds.
Oh, okay, yeah. I had the 60,000 in my head, but yeah. Sorry.
60,000 pounds, right?
Yeah.
That's not really a lot of money. Even if one Jamaican or two Jamaican want to come together to do that. The point I'm making, Russell Shane has been talking about this for over 3-4 years. He's done so much program. He's asking people to invest. If they didn't even trust Brother Russell Shane, Jamaicans, you got from down there, I got from down there. Because people get land. Nobody collectively came together and said, you know what, let's invest in a farm and see how we can try to make the CD oil and whatever. Now we have a situation where Canada coming in now, they invest in ganja farm in Jamaica. You got Israel got Jamaica ganja farm down there. You got Germany got ganja farm down there. There's quite a few countries that actually got ganja farm in Jamaica. Now to the point where they see that they made a way that, okay, Rastaman has been suffering from weed, suffering for the weed thing, police for a long time, bubble and whatever. Now they say, okay, you have a chance, go into get a license, find the land, and then you can do something. So it takes a collective. None of us have seen to being doing that because the trust our people probably tried and didn't work out. So now it reached a stage where that it's exported free to Jamaica now. I think about it myself. It sounds a bit bizarre. It's nonsense, bro. It's all
brother Naya, please.
Where I can say they're in Jamaica now, because I said, yeah, born and grew in Jamaica. Where everywhere you go, there's a Chinaman. Chinaman even have shops in the ghettos, right? Wholesale in the ghettos. One time the Chinaman is one of the wholesale downtown. If they got every ghetto now, the Chinaman have a wholesale is there. So that means it's showing us that we are not working collective, and we can see the same Chinaman in Africa because the same thing, no collective working. So we can sit and blame people and say, boy, this is why this happened. But we had the opportunity to come together, unilaterally, and say, let's put our money where our money is and create our own type of business. But we haven't done that. And this was going to happen with every single thing that we do. Everything that we create, we're going to not invest in it. We're not going to invest in it collectively. And then somebody else is going to come and take it up. We're going to say, but why do they not come and take over our thing? We don't want to take over our thing because we
never had it in the first place. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Them go under the docks of China.
All right. Right. I brought another caller in. Brother Sean. Greetings, my brother.
Yes, yes, respect. Yeah, oh my gosh, yes. I just want to comment on the ganja thing. This is why I'm in Jamaica, basically.
Okay.
I made a decision back in 2017. When Jamaica went legal, my parents are Jamaican, I got family in Jamaica, blah 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 blah. First generation English, blah 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 blah. When they went legal, I was like, wow, they're going legal. I was thinking, I can't wait to go to Jamaica next, so I can just go and bun weed legally. Anyway, now, I started watching Wagwan. I started to watch Wagwan. I started to pick up all my information from the video. And then I started seeing all these things. And then they released the license, how much it costs for a license. It's $3,000 to get a Jamaica license, right? And there's a criteria. There's a stringent criteria. One of the criteria is for you to get a license in Jamaica, you have to be Jamaican. So, and if you convert, for argument's sake, like myself, you get a citizenship and passport and all that, you have to be here for a minimum of years. However, when you're in Jamaica, in certain things called Guan, if you're Jamaican. The next thing, with businesses, there's loopholes. So a foreign person can get involved in the ganja through a business, but they cannot have more than 51% of the business. This is all on the Cannabis License Association's website. All the information and rules and regulations, all on their website. I could have bought my license long time. I haven't got a license yet, and one of the reasons I haven't got a license yet because legislation regarding export, import, and banking. You get me? So right now in America, there's problems with the dispensaries. You can bank. Don't get me wrong. You can bank. But there's whole loopholes to get through it, and there's only 2 financial institutes where you can bank in America to do it, and it costs you something like, it's ridiculous expensive, like 20 grand a month or something like that for you just to have the account.
Wow.
And then you're getting taxed up to the max for it. Well, that's the next thing. Yeah. Right now in America, they have problems with banking. So you've got enough dispensaries here who can't bank their money, and what's happening is enough of those dispensaries are getting robbed left, right, and centre. For some people who don't have the infrastructure to protect and keep whatever, yeah. And next thing, this is the next problem that happens in America right now. I'm using America just because of I'm just giving you examples of what one.
My apologies. What part of Jamaica are you from, Brother Sean? Sorry.
I'm in country, Manchester.
Manchester. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah. Also, there's the next problem in America that they're experiencing. The information I'm giving you is connected to legislation. So you've got in New York, weed is legal, and you've got California, weed is legal. And what's happening is that people are traveling with their drawers. So you're finding that bus stations, train stations, airports, you have to drop your drawer in the bin because you cannot travel, because the space you're traveling in between is not legal, and to travel with weed is not legal. That's the next thing, yeah. So
that's crazy.
And the reason why this is legislation, yes. I'm just trying to make you understand the challenges that people are facing, especially when it comes to Jamaica, because Jamaica follows the US legislation, law kind of thing. At the moment now, there's been an outcry because recently in Jamaica, people are beginning to find out people are exporting weed, which you can export weed, but what you have to do, what people there's enough people that have started to, that bought the license, failed miserably because they got no information, do no research about the thing.
Obviously.
Right now, you've got enough people who've got license in Jamaica for 5 years, they can't get rid of their weed, yeah, because the weed isn't GACP or EU GMP standard. Only people you can export weed to is the medical health industry, and these people are really mainly, yeah, extracting the weed. So they're extracting the weed.
Yeah.
That's all they're extracting. CBD, don't get me wrong. CBD, but yeah.
Can I just comment? You mentioned Brother Astan?
Yes, King. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's only just recently now these people have come into this fruition of there's only the states in America that legalize this stuff. This doesn't apply to Jamaica. So I would say to you,
different rules and regulations.
I share. So I mean, you have to link up with, you know, even though you say that I think brother he said he couldn't link up with my man. Yeah.
Russell
Hills.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Allow the brother Sean come back again. Come.
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate your information. I've got a team. I'm working with people in that. I've had conversations with people that own dispensaries I've done enough with. I'm geeky on this thing, so I appreciate your information and that. But from what I've researched and found out, this is what I'm getting back right now. Yeah, I've got what was I saying about the laws? Yeah, the laws. So
yeah. The regulations of actually.
People just found out that people are exporting weed, which you can do. However, it has to be EU GMP and or EU GMP or GACP. Basically, EU GMP is just it's a bog standard kind of. It's mainly in manufacturing. GACP is agricultural. Yeah. So and basically, in Europe, they're not buying nothing unless it's EU GMP, and in places like Australia, they're buying EAGA. So it's an EU GMP, but also they're accepting GACP. They're two different standards, basically. One's agricultural, one's manufacturer. In Germany, they are right now accepting, GACP. Yeah. So you got a whole heap of people in Jamaica who's growing weed. They ain't got a Scooby-Doo about the information I'm giving you. They haven't done any research, so they grow their weed. When they go to shut it down, it's a problem because at the moment now, the only people that are really buying it
Yeah.
So that's challenges that I am facing right now. Yeah, in places like Germany, places like Australia, places like Thailand, their health industry has now accepted ganja as a medicinal, as a medicine, basically. So you now, in places like Germany, Thailand, and Australia, doctors, the bog standard GP has import license, ganja import license, but these people don't really have ganja knowledge like that. You know what I'm saying?
Because they're used to their homogenized growing.
Yes, they used
things
to
there, strains.
amphetamine because they haven't been trained. What you're finding is, when it comes to the ganja thing, especially with the doctors now. Anyway, let me just go back to the doctors. They have import license. Germany, Australia, and Thailand. Yeah, I'm speaking to doctors, right? Basically, Blacknifcent. I've been in sales for 20 years.
Wow! So you come right at the beginning. You come right at the beginning of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the beginning still now. It's the early stage. It's a madness.
No. What? Hold on.
I listened to Rashad thing for the longest. I listened to enough people that talk for the longest and that. Yeah, but I've now taken the move after the lockdown. I thought, because I've been connected to people from this 2017. I'm being in this team, communicating with this team, seeing what I've gone with the laws, waiting for certain things to happen. Yeah, and I want to position myself in Jamaica. Any minute now, the import-export law and the banking law is going to change. Yeah, it's inevitable because the World Health Organization is the highest law when it comes to the drug law, and when they basically ganja is on the cusp of being completely legal, where it will be like a plant when they declassify it and they qualify it as a plant, like a health plant, like say like busy or soursop or anything like that. Then health conditions, but soon they're on a cusp of it, and because I know that, I've decided I'm planning. I want to as soon as I could come into Jamaica, because I'm seriously getting involved in this. I'm just going to capitalize when I can, kind of thing. You know what I mean? I can't do this on my own. I'm working with Jamaicans, and I'm working. When I mean Jamaicans, people like I've been coming to Jamaica for years. You understand? Don't get me wrong. I don't know Jamaica like that. I've got people, family, my uncle, who's like my business partner, who knows Jamaica from properly, as in not properly, but more seasoned than me, kind of thing.
Yeah, he has more connections. He has more connections, and no walk on better. Yeah, you have to know who. You have to know who and what and where.
But this is the thing, yeah. There's a whole heap of English, American, I would even say Canadian, first generation people who live over there, so who know what's wrong with the legal thing. And they've got family in Jamaica. And I'm not sure, I'll hope and fingers crossed, I really hope that they are communicating with people and see if they can do a thing. Because it costs free. Don't get me wrong, yeah. To set up if you want to grow this is a guesstimation on education kind of thing, yeah. Guesstimation, yeah. It would take you about $50,000 yeah, to get up and running an acre of land and be able to start growing your weed. You got 50,000, you're covered, because you have to. It may not cost 50,000. It may cost less than that, but 50,000, round about that, you can get up and running. You've got a man who spent nearly up to over $500,000 on just to secure an acre of land to get their team set up, because they just on the next team or something, whatever team. You know what I mean? But just to grow bog standard green, yeah, ganja, it was about 50, because you've got to get the fences, you've got to have security, you've got to have. There's a criteria for you to
grow within their remits, yeah.
This is the next thing here, right? They're talking about the lady earlier, the sister Empress there, which is talking about
Sister Sandra.
Yeah, we're talking about.
She's still with us. She's still with us, yeah.
you talk about the ganja and what's it called, the manipulation of the grade, bringing down the grade and that. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, that is something that probably that is. I'm not saying it is happening here, but there's whole heap of stuff in Jamaica. Yeah. And
wow.
In order for you to get a normal draw, yeah, you really got to go into the hills. Somebody like that.
Yeah, you have to be. You have to be a connoisseur. You have to be a connoisseur.
You really have, and these type of people, these are like, you got people, yeah, ganja man, yeah, proper, not even, I would say proper ganja man, you have seeds of generation seeds here. Seeds that have been passed around to generation, that plant's been grown from their great grandfather. You understand what I'm saying? And that's just the way that they continue to grow. But these type of people are not shoppers. It's a personal thing. You know what I mean? And but you could find them. You know what I mean? You can find them in that. But what Sister Empress Sandra was saying, yeah, I believe. I don't have any proof, yeah, but I believe there is outside forces that is trying to contaminate.
Of course, there is.
Say 30 years ago, not 30 years, I'll give it less than that, I lie. Give it about, I'd say 15, 20 years ago, you could get census. 20 years ago, you could get census in Jamaica. Like, you had to hunt for it, but you could raggle get census. Nowadays, if someone's got census, they won't even buy it out because they will be a target. And let me tell you that right now. If somebody had census in Jamaica right now, they will be a target because that would be the most sought after. If you could get that, oh my God, it would be sought after. So this is the next thing you brought up with this is the next thing, yeah, with Jamaica. Jamaica's a special place, and when it comes to, like, for argument's sake, the climate, yeah, when it comes to growing things, there's certain things that cannot be replicated here.
That's right. That's what. This is why we are talking about. This is why we're talking about herbs.
There's two places where where you can get the top grade, yeah, St. Elizabeth and Westland, yeah. If you go to Westland and you go to St. Elizabeth, you get the golden girl with the whole heap of seed and you smoke it where it's all nice, whatever, and you try to grow that in whatever,
it's not going to grow.
Whatever, it's not going to be the same. So let alone if you try and take it out of Jamaica, you grow it in California.
It's not going to work.
That's what people do. They can do it, but it's not going to be the same because Manchester, Spalding, they can't replicate it, let alone Australia. You get me? So when and from a long time, if you go to like people who smoke weed, people connoisseurs who smoke weed. I remember the first time I went to Durham, right, in the 90s.
Right, hold on, better show. I've literally got 5 minutes left of my show, right?
I learned.
Right, yeah, you'll have to come back on our next show. Right, Brother Icon. Yes, no, wait, Brother Icon of the stage. Yeah. Brother Icon. Come closer to your thing.
Yeah, Brother Sean, yes. What you're talking about, Brother Sean, because that's what I'm saying. Because what you're talking about, it needs unity for it to be done. Because as you can say, other countries, other people are investing in it. And if there's an agenda to get out authentic Jamaican weed to bring this skunk in, and the people that introduce skunk and project this skunk is tiny, yeah, they're the one that's bringing it in. And if you notice all the meditation of the people in Jamaica, since because they must smoke the rank weed, they must smoke so much skunk, the ganja now smoke again. And it's a reason why you can't get the real ganja. Don't believe ganja can spark anywhere in Jamaica. It's about what is around and the atmosphere, the temperature that smoke it's been grown in. So that's an agenda to get us ganja. But Brother Ashton, you haven't got enough time. Wonderful show to the one to rise up you and Sister Sandra.
Oh, thank you.
You know, let's keep rising. But we need to stop making excuses and come together and do what we need to do for ourselves.
Absolutely. Right, unfortunately, I'm going to have to, right, bring all of you callers to the close, right? Because
can I just say 1 minute, Brother Aston?
No, we haven't got the minute. We haven't got the minute. All right. Sorry. I have to bring you out to a close. Thank you, Anil, for all your contribution this term. Sister Sandra.
So the conversation went where the conversation needed to go, and I don't have a problem with that. And actually, it's rich, the fact that we've got the callers, and it's interesting hearing their views. So there's a couple of things I would have landed on, but I'm respectful and mindful of time. So the only thing I would say is that if anyone wishes to reach out to me, you can do so on sandra@mindsoulsupport.com. I'm going to be in Kingston. There's an event at the end of the month whereby I'll be speaking about abuse that's not that leaves no scars.
You're really going there.
Yeah, I'm going there again. When we think about International Women's Day and the appreciation, they often, one of the hooks that they hang that day on is the relationship between men and women and the abuse that is suffered by one party opposed to the other because of, it could be might, it could be tongue, it could be any form of lashing, but it's having that conversation and raising that level of conversation. So I'm going to be going out there and doing that. But for me, when I think about the appreciation for the day, I'm thinking about those that are closer to home. Like I said, my mother, Queen Nanny, and the appreciation that I have for what they have done, not only for themselves. And we think about Queen Nanny, we're thinking about the whole of that side of the island, those in the communities that she served tirelessly in order to maintain that freedom that as individuals we all want to have. And then I'm thinking about my mother and the work that she does tirelessly in terms of within the community, and just seeing that sometimes she has to tell me to keep it cool because there's no need to worry, there's no need to stress, just calm down. And it's having that older head that's still able to speak to me and encourage me. I just have to give thanks. Over to you, Aston. Brother Aston.
That's it. Well, I will say enjoy it while it, because that's probably one of the things that I do miss, the guidance and everything, from my mother, the stableness in the ways there. The tables have turned. Let's put it that way. And yeah, I would like to thank you for being part of the show this strong here. We'll announce it. We'll announce it at the next time. But in the future, I'm doing some courses, so I probably won't miss a couple of weeks of the show, and then I'll be back again. Okay. All right. So until then, right. So at the top of the hour, we shall be going over to our next presenter, Sister. Watch this. Come in now. They can't see you there. Yeah. Right. Our sister now shall be at the top of the hour, and I say thank you once again for joining us on the Blacknifcent show here this strong. So peace is our nature. Let's do this one. Yes.
This was for Phyllis.